A cold October rain drummed against the windshield as Ethan Carter tightened his grip on the steering wheel. His 8-year-old daughter Lily had fallen asleep in the passenger seat, clutching the stuffed rabbit her late mother had sewn by hand before cancer stole her away 3 years earlier. Ethan's delivery shift had stretched well into the evening, and every extra mile meant another dollar toward overdue rent. He was exhausted, worried, and quietly wondering how much longer he could keep pretending everything was fine for Lily. As his headlights swept across a lonely stretch of highway, he noticed a sleek black luxury sedan parked on the shoulder with its hazard lights flashing. A woman stood beside it, shivering in the rain as passing cars sped by without slowing. Ethan glanced at the clock. Helping would make him late for his final delivery, and he desperately needed the payment. Yet he remembered the promise he had made to Lily after her mother passed away: no matter how hard life gets, we never stop being kind. He eased his aging pickup onto the shoulder. The woman looked surprised as Ethan stepped into the rain carrying an old umbrella that barely stayed open. "Are you okay?" he asked. "My tire exploded, and my phone battery died," she replied, brushing wet strands of blonde hair from her face. "I've been here almost an hour." Ethan smiled warmly. "Let's get you back on the road." Despite wearing worn-out work boots and a jacket with patched elbows, he knelt in the mud without hesitation. His hands quickly loosened the damaged wheel while rain soaked through his clothes. Lily woke up and rolled down the window. "Dad, does she need help?" "She does, sweetheart." Lily climbed out with the small flashlight they always kept in the truck. "I'll hold the light," she announced proudly. The woman watched silently as father and daughter worked together like a practice team. Within 20 minutes, the spare tire was installed. "You saved me," the woman said gratefully. "Please, let me pay you." She reached into her designer handbag. Ethan shook his head. "No, thank you. Just promise me that if you ever see someone else stranded, you'll stop for them too." She stared at him in disbelief. "You don't even know who I am." He laughed softly. "I don't need to." She smiled for the first time all evening. "My name is Victoria." "Ethan. And this must be Lily." Lily nodded shyly. Victoria bent down and smiled. "Your father is raising you the right way." Before leaving, Victoria handed Lily a business card. "If you ever need anything, tell your dad to call." Ethan slipped the card into his pocket without looking at it. After all, he assumed it belonged to another wealthy executive who was simply being polite. The following Monday began like every other. Ethan dropped Lily at school before heading to another warehouse interview. Bills filled his mailbox. His landlord had posted a final warning. The delivery company where he worked had announced layoffs, and Ethan's name sat dangerously close to the bottom of the seniority list. The interview lasted barely 10 minutes. "We've decided to hire someone with more management experience." It was the 6th rejection in 2 months. As Ethan walked toward the parking lot, his truck refused to start. He rested his forehead against the steering wheel, wondering how much longer hope could survive disappointment. Then his phone rang. "Mr. Carter?" "Yes. This is Victoria Hayes' office." "A mess. Hayes would like to meet with you this afternoon." Ethan frowned. "I'm sorry. Victoria who?" "The CEO of Hayes Global Industries." His heart skipped. He suddenly remembered the untouched business card still lying inside his wallet. Hours later, Ethan nervously entered one of the tallest office buildings in the city. Marble floors gleamed beneath crystal chandeliers. Employees hurried through the lobby with tablets and tailored suits. When the elevator doors opened on the executive floor, Victoria herself greeted him. Gone were the rain-soaked clothes. She now wore an elegant navy suit, surrounded by assistants who immediately stepped aside as she approached Ethan with genuine warmth. "You came. I'm still trying to understand why I'm here." Victoria invited him into her office overlooking the skyline. I wasn't stranded by accident, she admitted. Ethan looked confused. My security team was following at a distance. I often travel without announcing who I am because I want to see how people truly treat strangers. She paused. In 1 hour, nearly 40 vehicles passed me. None stopped. They looked, but kept driving. And then you did. Ethan shrugged. Anyone would have. Victoria smiled sadly. No. They didn't. She opened a folder. I asked my team to learn more about you. Ethan stiffened. I know that's unusual, but what I found moved me. You're raising Lily alone. You volunteer at the community shelter twice a month despite struggling yourself. Your former employer described you as the most honest employee they ever had. She slid another document across the desk. I've been searching for someone to lead our new community outreach foundation. Ethan blinked. I don't have a college degree. You have something rarer. What? Character. Silence filled the room. Victoria continued gently. Skills can be taught. Integrity cannot. Tears threatened to form in Ethan's eyes. I've spent months interviewing executives, she said. Most had impressive resumes but cared only about numbers. Then I met a father who sacrificed his last delivery payment to help a stranger in the rain. She smiled. That's the person I want representing my company. The salary printed on the contract made Ethan's hands tremble. It was more money than he had earned in 3 years combined, complete with healthcare, education benefits for Lily, and a company vehicle. I don't know what to say. Victoria answered softly. Say you'll keep being exactly the man who stopped on that highway. That evening, Ethan picked Lily up from school. She climbed into the truck. Dad, did something good happen? He handed her the contract. We're going to be okay. Lily hugged him tightly. Was it because we helped that lady? Ethan smiled through tears. No, sweetheart. He looked toward the sunset glowing across the city. It happened because kindness always finds its way home, even if it takes the longest road to get there. The weeks that followed changed Ethan Carter's life in ways he had never imagined, but not in the way most people expected. His first day at Hayes Global Industries wasn't spent in a luxurious office giving orders. Instead, Victoria Hayes took him on a tour of neighborhoods that rarely appeared in business reports: food banks, homeless shelters, struggling schools, and community centers barely keeping their doors open. I don't want our foundation to write checks from a distance, Victoria told him as they walked through a shelter where volunteers were serving dinner. I want us to know the people we're helping. Ethan nodded. That's the only way kindness becomes real. Those words stayed with Victoria. Within a month, Ethan had transformed the company's outreach program. Rather than spending millions on flashy charity events, he created simple programs that directly helped struggling families: free school supplies, emergency rent assistance, job training workshops, and single-parent support groups. Employees who had once viewed community service as another corporate obligation began volunteering on weekends because Ethan worked beside them instead of giving speeches. News of the changes spread quickly. Reporters praised Hayes Global for becoming one of the country's most trusted companies. But Ethan never accepted the credit. The heroes are the people who choose to care, he always said. I'm only helping them find each other. One afternoon, Victoria visited Ethan's office carrying a small envelope. I think this belongs to you. Inside was the faded business card she had given Lily on the rainy night they first met. I kept another copy, Victoria smiled. It reminds me that my biggest business decision didn't happen in a boardroom. It happened on the side of a highway. Just then, Lily rushed into the office after school, carrying a drawing she had made. I finished it. She unfolded the picture. It showed an old pickup truck parked beside a broken luxury car in the rain. Above the two vehicles, she had written in colorful letters, one small stop can change two lives forever. Victoria looked at the drawing, her eyes filling with tears. "I'd like to frame this in our headquarters," she said. Lily's face lit up. "Really?" "Yes," Victoria replied. "Because every employee should remember why this company exists." Months later, Hayes Global held its annual shareholder meeting. Investors expected presentations about profits and expansion. Instead, Victoria invited Ethan onto the stage. The enormous auditorium fell silent. She told the audience the story of the rainy highway, never mentioning her wealth until the very end. A year passed, and Ethan Carter often found himself thinking about that rainy night on the highway. His life had changed beyond recognition, yet some things never did. Every morning he still drove Lily to school himself. Every Friday evening they still volunteered at the neighborhood food pantry. And every time he saw a stranded car, he instinctively slowed down. One crisp autumn afternoon, Victoria called him into her office. "I have a surprise," she said with a smile. She handed him a folder marked confidential. Inside were photographs of a rundown building on the east side of the city. "What is this?" Ethan asked. "It's an old community center," Victoria replied. "It's been abandoned for years. I want you to decide what it should become." Ethan studied the pictures carefully. The roof leaked, the walls were cracked, and the playground had rusted away. "I already know," he said. 3 months later, the building reopened as the Carter Family Hope Center. Ethan was shocked when he saw the name on the entrance. "No, this should have your name on it," he protested. Victoria smiled warmly. "If it weren't for your kindness, none of this would exist. This center is a reminder that ordinary people can change extraordinary lives." The Hope Center quickly became a lifeline for hundreds of families. Children received free tutoring after school. Single parents found job training and childcare. Seniors enjoyed warm meals and companionship. Every room was filled with laughter, hope, and second chances. One Saturday morning, while Ethan was helping repaint a classroom, an elderly man approached him. "You probably don't remember me," the man said. Ethan looked closely but couldn't place his face. "Years ago," the man continued, "my truck broke down outside your apartment. You helped me fix it even though you had just finished a 12-hour shift." Ethan smiled faintly. "I remember now." The old man nodded. "I never forgot. That act of kindness inspired me to start volunteering. Today I run a program that delivers meals to homebound veterans." Ethan was speechless. The man placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "You thought you were helping one person. You were planting a seed." Those words stayed with Ethan for days. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, he and Lily sat on a bench outside the Hope Center. Children were laughing on the new playground. Parents chatted while volunteers served dinner inside. Lily leaned against her father. "Dad," she whispered, "Mom would have loved this place." Ethan looked up at the sky, smiling through tears. "I think she already does." Just then, Victoria joined them carrying 3 cups of hot chocolate. She handed one to Lily and one to Ethan. "You know," she said softly, "people always ask me what the best investment I ever made was." Ethan laughed. "And what do you tell them?" Victoria looked at the families filling the center with life. "I tell them it wasn't in stocks, real estate, or technology." She paused. "It was believing in one good man who stopped to help a stranger in the rain." For a moment, none of them spoke. They simply watched as children chased each other across the playground, their laughter echoing into the evening. Ethan realized that true success wasn't measured by titles, wealth, or recognition. It was measured by the lives that became brighter because someone chose compassion over convenience. As the lights of the Hope Center glowed against the darkening sky, he quietly repeated the promise he had made years ago: "No matter how hard life gets, we never stop being kind." And somewhere in the crowd, another child watched, another family found hope, and another act of kindness quietly began, ready to change the world, one heart at a time. The end. Then she said, companies don't become great because they earn billions. They become great because they never forget the value of one act of compassion. The audience rose in a standing ovation. Among hundreds of applauding executives, Ethan looked toward the front row where Lily sat smiling proudly. He realized that the greatest reward had never been the salary, the promotion, or the recognition. It was knowing that his daughter had witnessed something priceless, that true wealth isn't measured by the size of a bank account, but by the number of lives touched with kindness. As they drove home in the same old pickup truck he had chosen to keep, Lily looked out the window and asked, "Dad, if we see someone stranded again, will we stop?" Ethan smiled without hesitation. Every single time. Because he knew that sometimes the person waiting on the side of the road wasn't just someone who needed help. Sometimes, they were the beginning of a brand new future.